The air inside the restaurant carried the rich warmth of roasted garlic and fresh bread from the wood oven. The kind of smell that wrapped itself around you like an old blanket. It wasn't a five-star spot, but it didn't need to be. It was familiar. It was where we celebrated everything that mattered. Birthdays, milestones, long lazy Sunday meals that stretched well past noon. But on that night, something felt off. Instead of walking into comfort, I walked into a celebration that didn't seem to have room for me. I had just clocked out from work, tired but glad my mom had mentioned everyone was meeting up. No one bothered to say what time, so I gambled on 7. When I stepped inside, I saw them right away. My parents, my cousins, my little brother, Daniel, all tucked in around the large round table near the back. The sound of their laughter carried across the room. Glasses clinking together, half-finished plates scattered across the table. It was obvious I'd shown up late, but I didn't mind. Being late still meant being included. Or so I thought. I started walking toward them, a faint smile creeping onto my face despite the heaviness in my bones from the long day. That's what family always did for me. Even with all the friction between Daniel and me, things hadn't been smooth lately. He had this way of dragging up old mistakes of mine, as if he hadn't had plenty of his own. Still, blood was blood, and dinners like this were supposed to mean peace. But as I reached the table, Daniel looked up. His eyes locked on me, and then came that look, the smug half-smile he'd mastered years ago. The one that always meant trouble. "Sorry," he said loudly, making sure every ear around the table heard. "This table's for family only." For a second, I thought it was one of his bad jokes. Sarcasm had always been his weapon of choice. But when he slowly turned his hand and aimed his finger straight at me, I felt the laughter drain from the room. My cousins stared down at their plates. My mom's eyes flew open, her lips parting but failing to form words. My dad shifted uncomfortably, fiddling with his glass. And me, I froze, my palm resting on the back of the empty chair, my chest caving like someone had socked me hard in the ribs. This was my brother. The kid I shielded on the playground. The one I drove around when he couldn't afford a car. The one I lied for when he needed bailing out. And here he was cutting me out in front of everyone. And it wasn't a joke. Not this time. The silence that followed burned hotter than any insult. Everyone knew Daniel had crossed a line, but no one moved. They just watched. Waiting. I tried to force a laugh, brittle and sharp. "Good one, Dan. Now move over." But he stayed where he was, leaning back with his arms crossed, smirk glued to his face. "No joke," he said. "We don't need outsiders tonight." The word landed heavy. Outsiders. My mom shifted, reaching toward me. "Daniel, that's enough." But he cut her off without missing a beat. "No, Mom. Somebody needs to say it. He left us. He picked his own life, his own people. And now he wants to stroll in here like nothing ever happened." His tone was calm, almost rehearsed, like he'd been waiting for this scene. Heat crawled up my neck, fury mixing with something far more painful. "You think I wanted distance? You think I walked away for fun?" My voice cracked under the weight of it. I left because of work. I was trying to build a future. I called. I texted. I came home for holidays. You were the one who never picked up. His jaw tightened, but the smirk stayed. "Excuses. That's all you've got. Meanwhile, you weren't here when Dad got sick. You weren't here when Mom needed help around the house. You weren't here when your family actually needed you." The word struck hard. My dad looked down, uncomfortable. Mom's hand trembled around her glass. My cousins chewed slowly, their eyes darting anywhere but me. I wanted to unload everything I'd kept bottled up. The countless times my calls had gone ignored. The long drives home where Daniel never showed. The way he twisted memories to always make me the villain. But I knew it wouldn't matter. Not here. Not now. So instead, I dragged out the empty chair and sat. I set my hands firmly on the table and locked eyes with him. "You don't get to decide who belongs here," I said softly, but every word carried weight. The tension was thick enough to touch. For the first time, his smirk slipped. The room felt like it was holding its breath, forks scraping quietly against plates. Mom's gaze darted between us, her face pale with nerves. Daniel leaned forward, his expression souring into a thin, bitter line. "You think you can just show up and pretend the last 10 years didn't happen? Family isn't about blood. It's about showing up. And you didn't. I stared right back. Didn't show up? Who called you while working nights to make sure you were okay? Who sent money when mom needed the roof fixed? Who came back every holiday, even when I had no one waiting for me here? Don't stand there and say I abandoned anyone. You're the one who pushed me out. That time the table stirred. My dad cleared his throat, setting his glass down with a deliberate thud. His voice was low but steady. Daniel, that's enough. You know your brother has always done his part. Maybe not in the way you wanted, but don't you dare pretend he hasn't cared. Daniel's face burned red. His fists curled against the table. He looked ready to snap, but then Mom's voice cut through the tension, trembling yet unshakable. This is my table. My family. And both of my sons belong here. Always. Do you understand? The words fell like a knife, slicing through the silence. Daniel leaned back, jaw tight, refusing to meet my eyes. The quiet that followed wasn't peaceful, but it was real. I took a slow breath, scanning the table. The cousins, the uncles, the aunts, caught between loyalty and unease. And for the first time, it hit me. I didn't need Daniel's approval. My place at this table wasn't his to grant or take away. I lifted my glass, forcing the corners of my mouth into a faint smile. To family, I said, my voice steady. Messy or not, complicated or not, we're still family. There was hesitation. Then one by one glasses lifted. My dad joined in, his eyes shining with things he didn't say out loud. Daniel didn't raise his. And that was fine. Because for the first time in years I felt sure of myself. Family isn't defined by who sneers at you or points toward the door. It's defined by who stands beside you when the room falls silent. And that night I realized I wasn't standing alone.